Hi everybody, my name's Ollie. Welcome to another edition of The Watch Collector. Today we're going to be looking at a brand called Fears. It's the first time that I've had a real opportunity to go in depth with them, and I'm looking forward to it. But before we get any further, of course, the obligatory wristwatch check, and today I'm wearing the Chapac Antarctique in salmon. So Fears was started in 1846 by Edwin Fear in Bristol. And over the next 80 years or so, really expanded manufacture to the point where in 1930s it was they were delivering watches to 95 countries across the globe. Unfortunately, despite the company seemingly to continue to do well, they closed their doors in 1976, only for the great-great-great-grandson, Nicholas Bowman Scargill, to reopen the doors of Fears in 2016. So what do we know about these watches? Well, that is a seriously long and impressive history, if not for the hiatus of 30 years or so, or 40 years I should say, but notwithstanding that, it has always been family owned. All of the managing directors have been part of the generation of Fears family. So I think that is something that is absolutely to be celebrated. The watches themselves are at a price point of around about £2,500 to £3,000 plus VAT. So when we're looking at them, we have to look at it through that particular prism. Okay, so the two I want to look at first are the Brunswick 38. Now we've got two of them here. One is in a champagne dial, and the second we have is in a copper salmon dial. Sticking with this one, first of all, I love the cushion shape of the case. I think it's really pretty. It's got a real kind of sensuality to it, but still very much a gentleman's watch. Interestingly, on both of these models, you've got the Fears numbers. This is a very specific way that they've created the Arabic numerals, and it's something that is very specific to Fears. The way that it's also important, I think, to note that they are one of the very few manufacturers here in the UK that actually finish the hands in-house themselves. And on this version, you can see that they're actually hand blued on both the hour marker, minute marker, and the seconds at 6 o'clock. I love the way that the seconds dial has been recessed down at 6 o'clock. I think it adds just an extra element to it. And what it also does is it breaks up the brushed rose and copper plating on the dial, which in of itself I think is quite striking and very elegant. The crown has a nice feel to it. It's nicely knurled. You can definitely see that where they have put attention to detail in terms of finishing, they've done it to a good standard. And I think overall, when you're looking at this watch, whether it's this one or the Champagne, which we'll look at shortly, which is on a bracelet, it certainly feels that kind of price point. And I think they've done a great job. As I can see from all the Fears models, none of them have a transparent case back, which I think is a missed opportunity, I must say. This is powered by the ETA 7001 movement, as is obviously the Champagne dial. It's a ubiquitous manufacturer of movements, and unless the finishing is so bad that you really just don't want to see it, I think it's a shame that you can't see the inner workings of the watch. Having said that, of course, having a stainless steel, as this watch is, case back, it does add an extra weight and heft to the watch, so it gives it a little bit more presence on the wrist. So before we throw it on, let's quickly have a look at the Champagne dial. So this is, again, this is plated with 18 karat gold, with the Fears numbering. Once again, blued hands for both the minute, hours, and the seconds. And I really like the color of this. What they've matched with the stainless steel, and particularly on the bracelet, I think it looks great. As I mentioned before, same as with the copper and salmon version. no transparent case back. The bracelet has a malleability and a flexibility that I think actually goes way beyond the cost of this particular watch. As I said, about £3,000. I think it's got a really nice tactility to it. It certainly feels like it's very supple. So what we're going to do now, we'll throw it on the wrist and see how it wears. Now, the 38mm dial, one would think it's actually too small, or that would, if you've watched any of my other videos, then I would normally say the 38 is too small for a man. But actually, certainly this version on the bracelet, it doesn't come across like that, because you've got the cushion face, the cushion case, I should say. You've got the slightly exposed crown, coupled with the lugs, and the way that the bracelet really fits around your wrist quite nicely. I think it works actually. And again, the dial really draws you in. So I think they're punching above their weight in both price and size of the watch with this Brunswick 38. Hopefully that will come out. I think this one does show its size much more accurately than the Champagne with the stainless steel. It's extremely pretty, and actually it brings out the blue much more because of the contrast with the copper and the rose. Again, love the cushion shape of the case. Overall, I think they've done a fantastic job. So the last one we're going to have a look at is the Archival 1930. You don't need me to tell you, this is 1930s Art Deco all the way. Cartier tank, perhaps inspired, or Jaeger-LeCoultre and their Reverso. This has got some 18 karat gold plating around the edge. Again, Fear's numbering, hand finished blued hour and minute markers. And this watch was actually created as a celebration of the 175th anniversary. And so it is a limited edition of only 175. And each of these watches, again, this one is powered by an ETA movement, has got a year signifying each of those 175 years. So as you can see, this particular one is 1899. Overall, I love the brushed finishing on the case. I think again they're punching massively above their weight in terms of cost of what you're having to purchase for one of these watches. And overall, having had an opportunity to really have to kind of get into them, I think they're a great value price point. Yes, could they be criticized they don't have a transparent case back? I would love to see that, even if the movement isn't finished particularly well. But leaving that to one side, I think it's as I said, I think it's particularly with the cushion. I'm very taken with those in both the colorways that I've got here. But overall, great value, £2,500 to £3,000 for a watch that you're almost guaranteed you're not going to see another one if you're out and about. Represents a great opportunity. So that's Fear's watches. I'd love to know what you think. What do you think about the size? What do you think about the finishing? What do you think about the fact it hasn't got a transparent case back? I'd love to know your thoughts. So until the next time, thanks so much for watching. See you soon.